fans. My name is Caleb, and this week I am going solo, and we're going to talk about Notre Dame. We kind of skipped over that in our preview, so we are going to circle back around. James will be with me tomorrow, and we will do the Maction and the Fun Belt. Today I want to touch on Notre Dame. We might do some other independents throughout. Notre Dame, everybody knows, has a new coach this year. Defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman was promoted to head coach as Brian Kelly left for LSU. Big move here. They retained offensive coordinator Tommy Rees. Sneaky hire, which I don't think many people are talking about. They hired former Miami head coach, Miami Hurricane head coach, and former Cincinnati Bengals linebacker coach Al Golden to be their defensive coordinator this year, which I think was a big move for Marcus Freeman because that is the only person on that staff that has head coaching experience. Now, he coached at Temple, he coached at Miami. I'm not sure what Mark Sherman's going to be able to pull from him, but he at least has somebody on there that has head coaching experience that he can pull from. So I definitely will be interested to see what he can do. We saw him for one game last year against Oklahoma State, the other OSU. They got out to a lead in the Fiesta Bowl, I believe, is where they played last year. I could be wrong. And then gave it away late in the game. So I'll be interested to see kind of what they put together. They're replacing a quarterback, a running back, and safety Kyle Hamilton. They had the 7th rated recruiting class for the 2022 season, which I thought was very well for Marcus Freeman to kind of put together, being hired in January. Currently, right now, they have the top rated class for the 2023 cycle. Now, I know this is going to change. This is not going to be something that is going to stay that way because they're ranked number 1 and they have 20 commits already. So I don't think Notre Dame is going to be able to stick to the top spot. But I do think they're going to have a solid recruiting class. In our Lindy's preview magazine, they start out, they have them ranked 8th to start the season. Right now, you can get their over-under at 8.5 wins. I do think that's doable. I'm curious to see, as I stated, they got a new quarterback, new running back. They have a top probably 3 or 5 tight ends that they're going to be able to that whoever the quarterback is going to be able to throw to. So I'm definitely interested to see what they look like. Everybody knows who their first game is. They start out September 3rd at Ohio State. I haven't quite made my pick on that game yet. I'm not really leaning one way or the other. I haven't gone one way or the other. Looking at the schedule, as Jody puts out, 8.5 wins is low. I definitely think if you're going to bet Notre Dame, you can bet the over. They have four true road games and then 2 neutral site games. One thing that worries me about Notre Dame is their bye is, and when we get to the full schedule, we'll take a look at it. Their bye is October 1st. So I definitely am curious to see, because then they've got 8 straight games with their bye being so early in the season. They should start out, if we go just by pure numbers alone, everybody's going to pick Ohio State. So let's chalk that up to a loss there. They should come out of September 3-1 because they have the 3rd they play Ohio State, then Marshall and Cal come in back-to-back weeks. I don't expect either one of those teams. To give Notre Dame much pushback. Then you have an interesting game on September 24th. Notre Dame goes to North Carolina, and Jody echoes my sentiment here about the quarterback, and he says that's why they lost to Cincinnati last year. I do think that was the issue. Actually, I take that back. I know that was the issue because it was a struggle to put points up. So figuring out the quarterback is going to be huge for Notre Dame this year. That road game on September 24th at North Carolina could be interesting because you're going to kind of know what team you have for Notre Dame. and North Carolina, after having a down season, could definitely respond differently this year. As I stated, their bye is going to be October 1st. Then they have the very interesting game, October 8th. They play BYU in Vegas. I do think that's going to be a good matchup. BYU also plays Baylor, so they're going to be tested before this as well. So that's going to be one of the games I circle to watch. BYU is always seemed to be very disciplined. I think they returned their quarterback and the running back this year. And Kalani Sasaki has been a great head coach for them. Then Stanford and UNLV come in. And I think they're going to go steamroll UNLV. It's all what you feel about Stanford. Stanford's very hit and miss. They haven't been very good the last couple of years. So I'm curious if David Shaw's kind of checked out or if just the talent is just leaving the state of California, which we'll talk about when we get to USC. Sneaky road game on the 29th. They go at Syracuse. Dino Babers might be coaching for his job at that point. So that'll be a good game with Sean Tucker, sophomore running back. So that's going to be probably a run-heavy game. Clemson comes in November 5th. Clemson, I'm interested because I'm not sure what Clemson team we're going to have, but you're going to know what team you have for Clemson by November 5th, whether you're going to go with DJ or you're going to go with Cole. Is DJ going to be able to fix his problems from last year, or are we going to see a new starting quarterback at Clemson? Dabo Swinney, I don't feel like had an option last year, and I feel like he has that this year with what's that running back's name? Will Shipley. And then they've always had receivers at Clemson, so they are going to have weapons to the ball too. Then you have a Navy team that's down, but that game is in Baltimore. This is an annual game. It's going to be a rivalry game. It's going to be fun to watch. Then they have another little sneaky game. Boston College comes in November 19th. I'll be looking to see what Phil Jerkovich can do, see if he can keep Boston College in that game. And then the big one, kind of looking everybody on USC schedule on Notre Dame schedule. This will be the first year Lincoln Riley plays Notre Dame, and it's at the Coliseum. And I feel like no matter what USC does this year, the Coliseum is going to be rocking all year. Everybody knows what USC brought, what Lincoln Riley brought with him from Oklahoma to USC. So I will definitely be interested to see what's going on there. Altogether, and Clemson and Jody said Clemson is overrated and they lost their DC. They also lost their offensive coordinator. Tony Elliott went to Virginia and Brent Venables went to Oklahoma. And Clemson's big on hiring within, so of course they promoted from within. I would go over on 8.5 because if you take, worst case scenario I feel like for Notre Dame is 8-4. That is a loss to Ohio State, a loss to USC. That'd be a loss to BYU in Vegas. I take that back. I think worst case for Notre Dame is 7-5. Ohio State, road game at UNC, BYU in Vegas, Clemson comes in, and USC. I feel like best case is 10-2. Ohio State, you got your bookends, Ohio State and at Ohio State at USC. I don't think Notre Dame makes the playoffs. I do think Notre Dame can make a New Year's Six bowl game. Of course, that all depends on everybody else and what they can do, what they do around Notre Dame, because Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference. Speaking of conferences, we've kind of talked on this a couple of times. Notre Dame is the pretty girl. She can figure out. She can pick who she wants to go to. I've seen talks of the landmine shift they could make if they chose to go to the SEC. I don't think that's where they belong. I think, and I know we're kind of doing away with the regionality of college football. I do think the Big Ten is the best fit for them. And Jody says he doesn't think there's a benefit. I've seen a report that Notre Dame has asked NBC for $75 million a year to remain independent. I could definitely see NBC giving them that. I also saw something about maybe NBC piggybacking the Big 12 onto Notre Dame and kind of having the Big 12 and Notre Dame, which I think could be interesting. Notre Dame is a privately funded university. So they are unlike everybody else. They don't need to join a conference. The only way I feel like Notre Dame joins a conference is if they're being left out of the CFP, which being able to make your own schedule. And like I said, we're looking at this at Ohio State, at UNC, BYU, Clemson comes in, at USC. I don't think that they're being forced out. They're going to be forced to go into a conference. I just don't see Notre Dame making a brash move like that, because when they move to a conference, I was listening to somebody say Notre Dame then loses their seat at the table because they become under this umbrella. So I definitely think that moving to a conference only hurts them in the long run. Let me get what you think, guys. If y'all follow Notre Dame close enough, what do you think of this year? Jody said it again, 10-2, but if both quarterbacks suck, it could be a rough season. I could see realistically a 7-5 Notre Dame team. My worry is, are they going to run Marcus Freeman out in 2 years if he gets off to a slow start? Now, they've done that before, and then they gave Brian Kelly all this time. So I'm definitely interested to see what Notre Dame can do. We will be keeping up with them as we do all of the teams in the CFB. I like them being an independent, and now that they're scheduling, better teams. We've seen Notre Dame schedule some not so good teams in the past. I like the at Ohio State game. I'm going to be really interested next year when Ohio State makes their return trip. This is a good schedule for Notre Dame. It's going to be a good test to see where Marcus Freeman has the program, and it's going to be a good test to see if he can coach up quarterbacks, or if he has somebody on his staff that can coach up quarterbacks, because Jack Cohn left, and they really haven't had a big-time quarterback. I wouldn't even consider Ian Book a big-time quarterback. I'd probably say their best quarterback was probably, everybody knows, Brady Quinn. And who did they have after Brady Quinn? And I can't think of what his name is. But he wasn't terrible either. But I don't think they haven't had a top-tier quarterback in probably since the late 2000s. So let me know what you guys think about Notre Dame. Join us. I believe it's tomorrow. James will be back. We'll talk about some Group of 5 teams and what we're looking forward to that. Yes, there will be Sunbelt. Yes, there will be Fun Belt. Yes, there will be Maction. Let me know what you think. Have a good night.